All right, let's see what we got. Welcome, viewer. Who do we have on? All right. California Republicans sue to block Democratic redistricting plan. Republican legislators asked the California Supreme Court to intervene in redistricting efforts underway in the State House. The petition claims that the proposed legislation must be published for 30 days before action can be taken on it. Democrats currently hold 43 out of the 52 California U.S. House seats and aim to win 5 more. The filing alleges that the legislature circumvented rules by replacing 2 unrelated bills with the redistricting proposal. In California, Republican lawmakers have launched a legal challenge against Governor Gavin Newsom's redistricting plan, which aims to create 5 new Democratic congressional seats. The Republicans argue that the plan violates the state constitutional provisions by not adhering to a mandated 30-day review period. Oh, that is a problem. How will Newsom deal with this? The lawsuit requests the California... Wait. I need a calendar. August... September, November, 30-day review. Don't they have more than 30 days before the vote? November 4th is when they're doing that. The lawsuit requests the California Supreme Court to intervene and prevent Democratic lawmakers from advancing the redistricting plan until September 18th, demanding a 3/4 legislative vote to expedite the process. Despite the current legal dispute, California Democrats face a pressing deadline to pass the redistricting bills to meet Newsom's November election goal. This move is part of Newsom's strategy to counterbalance a similar Republican redistricting effort in Texas intended to increase Republican seats. The political landscape remains tense as both states navigate the contentious issue of redistricting amid growing partisan divides. Let's see, California 30-day review period. in a state constitution. Laws governing the initiative process in California. Citizens of California may initiate legislation as either a state statute or a constitutional amendment. In California, citizens also have the power to repeal legislation via veto referendum. The California state legislature may also place measures on the ballot as legislatively referred constitutional amendments or legislatively referred state statutes. Referred amendments require a 2/3 vote of each chamber. Once ballot initiatives have been declared eligible for the ballot, which means it has been determined that enough valid signatures were submitted, they are submitted to the legislature. The legislature has no control over the initiatives or whether they appear on the ballot. However, California law requires the legislature to hold a public hearing on the initiatives at least 30 days prior to the election. Moreover, proponents are not allowed to withdraw an initiative even after it has been declared eligible for the ballot up to when the initiative is certified as qualified for the ballot, 131 days before the election. This means the legislature can offer alternative legislation as a compromise in an effort to convince petitioners to withdraw certified initiatives. Public hearing on the initiatives, 30 days. So there's 30 days. What is this? August, September, December, November. So they've got like 2 months, 3 months. So what are the Republicans worried about? They've got plenty of time to do a 30-day review period. Okay. Yeah. Minnesota sues TikTok, alleging that it preys on young people with addictive algorithms. Stand by. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison announced a lawsuit against TikTok. Did you catch that first one where the California Republicans are mad at Newsom's redistricting attempt? Also, welcome, Joe Neal. They say it violates the state constitution that requires a 30-day public review period before legislation can be passed, voted on. Why did I delete that tab? 30-day review period. After the initiative is submitted, there must be a 30-day public review period in which citizens can give input and discuss the initiative. Oh, geez. Okay. 30-day. California law requires the legislature to hold a public hearing on the initiative at least 30 days prior to the election. So California Republicans are suing based on the fact that they are violating that 30-day review period, but they're not. They're doing the election on November 4th. So they've got 2 months, 2.5 months until the vote to do their 30-day review period. If what the Newsom's rally press conference thing doesn't count. Anyway, yeah. So Minnesota sues TikTok, alleging it preys on young people with addictive algorithms. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison announced a lawsuit against TikTok, alleging the app has addictive and exploitative features that harm children. I think it harms everybody, doesn't it? Short attention span thing. The lawsuit, filed in Hennepin County District Court, claims TikTok violates several Minnesota laws, including the Prevention of Consumer Fraud Act. Really? Unlawful practices. Fraud, misrepresentation, deceptive or unfair practices. Referral or chain referral selling, prohibited. Advertising media excluded. Solicitation of money for merchandise not ordered or services not performed. Prohibited going out of business sales. Deceptive use of financial institution name, advertising sales, misrepresentation of conversion therapy. Oh, gender or sexual conversion, gender identity conversion. Unfair or unconscionable practices or acts, standard of proof. For purposes of this section, an unfair method of competition or an unfair or unconscionable act or practice is any method of competition, act, or practice that, number one, offends public policy as established by the statutes, rules, or common law of Minnesota. Number two, is unethical, oppressive, or unscrupulous. Number three, is substantially injurious to consumers. All right, so it's probably those last two there that they're suing for. Suing? Yeah. Minnesota's probably suing TikTok over those two things. Attorney General Ellison stated that the state is not attempting to shut down TikTok, but wants the company to clean up their act. Ellison emphasized the stuff is digital nicotine, expressing concern over the profits TikTok makes at kids' expense. I mean, we could probably just guess what the rest of that entails. His office also filed lawsuits in federal court in 2023 against Meta, alleging similar violations based on the design of Instagram and Facebook. I don't mind that. Yeah, go for it, Minnesota. Despite the bipartisan support for the legislation and his own attempts to ban the app during his first term, President Trump has repeatedly delayed enforcement of the legislation, which would ban the app in the U.S. if ByteDance does not sell. Because of its foreign parent company, TikTok has been a political football for federal lawmakers. Congress voted overwhelmingly last year to require ByteDance to sell TikTok, arguing the app posed a national security risk. Then President Joe Biden signed the legislation. Donald Trump has delayed enforcement. U.S. warships to patrol international waters around Venezuela as Trump vows to stop cartels. Oh boy. 3 U.S. Aegis guided missile destroyers will arrive off the coast of Venezuela in 36 hours to address threats from Latin America drug cartels, according to 2 sources briefed on the matter. President Trump has made cracking down on drug cartels a central goal of his administration, seeking to limit migration and enforce national border security. The Trump administration designated Mexico's Sinaloa cartel and Venezuelan criminal group Tren de Aragua as global terrorist organizations in February, increasing immigration enforcement against alleged gang members. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro stated that Venezuela will defend its territory against what he described as a bizarre threat of a declining empire. Jeez, ow. Well then, war with Venezuela? Is that where we're headed to? The USS Gravely, the USS Jason Dunham, and the USS Sampson are expected to arrive soon, said the official, who is not authorized to comment and spoke Tuesday on the condition of anonymity. According to a U.S. official briefed on the planning, a Defense Department official confirmed that the military assets have been assigned to the region in support of counter-narcotics efforts. The official, who is not authorized to comment about the military planning, said that the vessels would be deployed over the course of several months. A leaker in Trump's government. The deployment of U.S. destroyers and personnel comes as Trump has pushed for using the U.S. military to thwart cartels he blames for the flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs into American communities and for perpetuating violence in some U.S. cities. Trump has also pressed Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to cooperate more on security than her predecessor, specifically being more aggressive in pursuit of Mexico's cartels. But she has drawn a clear line when it comes to Mexico's sovereignty, rejecting suggestions by Trump and others of intervention by the U.S. military. Trump in February designated Venezuela's Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and in El Salvador and 6 groups based in Mexico as foreign terrorist organizations. His Republican administration has also stepped up immigration enforcement against alleged gang members. The designation is normally reserved for groups like Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State, groups that use violence for political ends, not for money-focused crime rings such as the Latin American cartels. But the Trump administration argues the international connections and operations of the groups, including drug trafficking, migrant smuggling, and violent pushes to extend their territory, warrant the designation. Earlier this month, the Trump government announced it was doubling to $50 million a reward for the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, accusing him of being one of the world's largest narco traffickers and working with cartels to flood the U.S. with fentanyl-laced cocaine. The press office of Venezuela's government did not respond to a request for comment from the AP on the deployment of the destroyers, but without mentioning the ships, Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, in a statement Tuesday, characterized the U.S. government's drug trafficking accusations against Venezuela. Washington's accusing Venezuela of drug trafficking reveals its lack of credibility and the failure of its policies in the region, Gill said. While Washington threatens, Venezuela steadily advances in peace and sovereignty, demonstrating that true effectiveness against crime is achieved by respecting the independence of its peoples. Every aggressive statement confirms the inability of imperialism to subdue a free and sovereign people. Are they even free and sovereign in Venezuela? In May 2017, Maduro proposed the 2017 Venezuelan Constituent Assembly election. Awesome. Glad it sounds better. Yeah, I'll have to sit with it and monitor it or record it a few times, making small adjustments. But yeah, awesome. Thank you. The 2017 Venezuelan Constituent Assembly election, which was later held on the 30th of July 2017 despite wide international condemnation. The United States sanctioned Maduro following the election, labeling him as a dictator. 2017, who was that? 2008, 2016 was Obama. That was Trump. Yeah, that was Trump. Preventing him from entering the United States. Other nations such as China, Russia, and Cuba offered their support to Maduro and the Constituent Assembly elections. The presidential elections, whose original electoral date was scheduled for December 2018, the presidential elections was subsequently pulled ahead. The presidential election was subsequently pulled ahead to 22nd of April before being pushed back to the 20th of May. Analysts described the poll as a show election, with the elections having the lowest voter turnout in the country's democratic era. 6 months after being elected, Maduro was given the power to rule by decree by the pre-2015 Venezuelan legislature, and later by the Supreme Tribunal to address the ongoing economic crisis in the country, with strong condemnation by the Venezuelan opposition, claiming the legislature's power had been usurped by the court. His presidency had coincided with a decline in Venezuela's socioeconomic status, with crime, inflation, poverty, and hunger increasing. Analysts have attributed Venezuela's decline to both Chavez and Maduro's economic policy, while Maduro has blamed speculation and economic warfare waged by his political opponents. A 2018 Amnesty International report accused Nicolas Maduro's government of committing some of the worst human rights violations in Venezuela's history. The report found the violence was carried out especially in Venezuela's poor neighborhoods and included 8,000 extrajudicial executions carried out between 2015 and 2017. In 1 year, 22% of homicides were committed by security forces. All right, so he doesn't seem like a great guy. The 2017 election in Venezuela was convened by presidential decree from Nicolas Maduro. Smartmatic, the company which provided the voting machines, stated that the results were tampered with by the CNE, Constituent National Electoral Council, and that the turnout was off by at least 1 million votes. That's different than what happened here. Smartmatic sued Newsmax for claiming that their machines were tampered with, and Newsmax recently was ordered to pay Smartmatic, what was it, $50 million? They technically didn't lose the lawsuit, they settled out of court. Let's see, back to the U.S. destroyers. Maduro on Monday said the U.S. had increased its threats against Venezuela and announced the planned deployment of more than 4.5 million militia members around the country. The militias were created by then-President Hugo Chavez to incorporate volunteers who could assist the armed forces in the defense of external and domestic attacks. The empire has gone mad and has renewed its threats to Venezuela's peace and tranquility, Maduro said at an event in Caracas, without mentioning any specific location. Maduro was indicted in a New York federal court in 2020 during the first Trump presidency, along with several close allies on federal charges of narco-terrorism and conspiracy to import cocaine. Back then, the U.S. offered a $15 million award for his arrest. Damn. Yeah, that does sound like some warlike options. Like, if you're going to say the president of another country is guilty of narco-terrorism and conspiracy to import cocaine into your country, and then offer $15 million as a reward for his arrest, those are fighting words. Oh, here's a fun one. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope discovers a new Uranus moon. NASA announced the discovery of a new tiny moon orbiting Uranus, which is approximately 6 miles wide. This moon was spotted by the Webb Space Telescope's near-infrared camera during observations in February. The discovery increases the total number of known moons around Uranus to 29, named after characters from Shakespeare and Alexander Pope. Scientists believe the moon evaded detection due to its faintness and small size, even eluding Voyager 2 during its flyby about 40 years ago. That's really cool. Uranus has a new moon. No. I mean, isn't it Uranus? Uranus is just the funny way to say it. Oh, Lord. With the intro music too, that's great. Is that like anus, the prototypical anus? That's really cool. That's really fucking cool. Cool. Oh shit. It really is Uranus? Uranal. Urinal. Oh, well then. I guess it is right. No other planet has as many small inner moons as Uranus, and their complex interrelationships with the rings hint at a chaotic history that blurs the boundary between a ring system and a system of moons, said Matthew Tiscareno of the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California. Moreover, the new moon is smaller and much fainter than the smallest of the previously known inner moons, making it likely that even more complexity remains to be discovered. I wonder how many undiscovered moons we have in our solar system right now. The new moon, designated S2025U1, joins Uranus's 28 existing moons, all of which are named for characters from the works of Shakespeare and Alexander Pope, and is the 14th member of the ice giant's inner ring of moons. Its orbital neighbors include two of the smaller moons, Ophelia and Bianca. So did they just not... What's its name? That's its designation, S2025U1. But what's its name? Oh, it hasn't been peer reviewed yet, so it'll probably get a name once they peer review its existence. Yeah. Even so, if certified, the moon would have to wait to be officially named by the International Astronomical Union, the IAU, leading authority in assigning official names and designations to astronomical objects. Holy shit. Uranus is the planet with the third most moons in our solar system, behind Jupiter's 95 and Saturn's 274 moons. I didn't know that. I thought it had like 9. This new moon joins S2023U1, which is an irregular moon of Uranus, discovered in November of 2023 and has yet to be named. Before that, it had been 20 years since a new moon was discovered orbiting the smooth blue planet. Yeah, I think the proper term is a metric fuckload. Wow. As of March 25th, 2025, there's a total of 891 confirmed moons in our solar system. Wait, look at that. NASA, 891 confirmed moons, and then the AI overview. There are 752 moons currently recognized in our solar system. That's why you can't trust the AI. Cool. Okay, back to politics. Mississippi Supreme Court map violates Voting Rights Act, judge rules. A federal judge has ordered Mississippi to redraw its Supreme Court electoral map as it violates the Voting Rights Act and dilutes the power of black voters. District Judge Sherian Aycock found that the map enacted in 1987 cannot be used in future elections. The Mississippi branch of the American Civil Liberties Union stated that the map unfairly divided Mississippi's Delta region, a historically black area. Aycock plans to set a deadline for the Mississippi legislature to create a new map, a decision hailed as a correction of historic injustice by Ari Savitsky of the ACLU Voting Rights Project. The district lines that have governed Mississippi Supreme Court elections for nearly 30 years will have to be redrawn. On Tuesday, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District handed down a ruling ordering the state to redraw the lines to ensure black voters have an equal opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. The ruling is a win for the SPLC, the ACLU, and others who brought suit against the state, arguing that the current district boundaries severely diluted the voting strength of black residents in state Supreme Court elections in violations of the Voting Rights Act. This ruling is a historic victory for fairness and justice in Mississippi. Senator Derek T. Simmons, the state Senate Minority Leader, said in a statement, "For too long, the lines for our Supreme Court districts diluted the voices of black voters and denied them a fair opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. The court's decision affirms what we have long known, that our democracy works best when every community has equal representation." According to a release from SPLC, the High Court's district lines have remained virtually unchanged since 1987. The plaintiffs in the case contended that the lines cut the Mississippi Delta in half, which prevented candidates preferred by black voters from being elected. Jarvis Dortch, executive director of the ACLU of Mississippi, was pleased with Tuesday's ruling. This ruling acknowledges that the current Supreme Court district lines silence too many black Mississippians, he said. Thanks to this federal court's decision, black voters will have a more equal say in who serves on our state's highest court. "105 pages. Trump says woke Smithsonian overemphasizes slavery, urges focus on America's brightness instead. Donald Trump criticized the Smithsonian for focusing heavily on slavery and ignoring America's accomplishments, stating it is, quote, out of control, and focused on negativity instead of, quote, brightness and success. He emphasized that this country cannot be woke because he believes woke is broke. Can't be woke because woke is broke. Can't be teamwork because teamwork makes the dream work. Trump's statement included directives to promote American exceptionalism and eliminate divisive narratives. Oh, welcome, second viewer. Trump suggested today that he will pressure the Smithsonian, a premier museum, education, and research complex for U.S. history and culture, to accept his demands, just like he did with colleagues and colleges and universities by threatening to cut federal funding. "I have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities where tremendous progress has been made," Trump tweeted on Truth Social. The Smithsonian, which was established in 1846, includes... Don't go woke because woke is broke. Or we are woke, so we're going to go broke. Yeah, it's self-fulfilling, right? The White House said last week it will lead an internal review of some Smithsonian museums after Trump earlier this year accused it of spreading anti-American ideology and raised alarm among civil rights advocates. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. Well, aren't we supposed to, look back and remember how bad the bad was so we don't do it again? Also, I've never been to the Smithsonian, so I don't know how much their content spans the bad and the good. The Smithsonian receives most of its budget from U.S. Congress, but is independent of the government in decision-making. Civil rights advocates say Trump's administration is undoing decades of social progress and undermining the acknowledgement of critical phases of American history. Yeah, like those phases where the bad stuff was happening were like the critical moments in our history, where we were able to overcome those bad things, for the most part. Trump has made threats to cut federal funding on top of U.S. educational institutions, citing pro-Palestinian protests against U.S. ally Israel's war in Gaza, transgender policies, climate initiatives and diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Last month, the government settled its probes with Columbia University, which agreed to pay $221 million, and Brown University, which said it will pay $50 million. Both institutions accepted certain government demands. Talks to settle with Harvard are ongoing. No reporting, or very little reporting on the right, very little in the center. Biometric e-gates to be tested at these U.S. airports, CLEAR announces. Clear. The TSA has already done away with requiring travelers to take off their shoes during screenings. Oh, wow. I guess I haven't flown in a while. The agency has introduced lines dedicated for families. She looks like she's in front of a green screen. Now the TSA is launching a futuristic means of getting through security. On Tuesday, the tech firm Clear, CLEAR, announced a pilot public-private partnership with TSA to bring biometric e-gates to select U.S. airports to expedite the passenger experience and enhance security ahead of next year's FIFA World Cup and America's 250th anniversary celebration. The gates are meant to help you skip the TSA podium, where an agent verifies your identification and boarding pass before you can enter the security screening area. The e-gates use real-time biometric verification by matching your face with the facial image on your identity document and your boarding pass. The gates will be overseen by TSA, with agents capable of triggering gate access, conducting security vetting, and enforcing government security requirements. According to Clear, e-gates are debuting at 3 airports this month: Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International, Ronald Reagan National Airport in D.C., Seattle-Tacoma International Airport in Washington. The company intends to bring the gates nationwide, but did not give an exact timeline. Clear is investing in this technology at no cost to taxpayers to modernize our checkpoints and ensure America's airports are ready to meet global expectations. Clear is already a partner in TSA's PreCheck program with a presence in more than 200 airports nationwide. The company didn't say on Tuesday whether or not you'll need to have PreCheck to use the gates. Clear did not immediately respond to Nexstar's request for additional information. Last month, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem told News Nation host Blake Berman at the Hill National Summit that the agency had been reviewing ways to make traveling, specifically getting through TSA, easier. Shortly before that announcement, TSA confirmed it would allow travelers to leave their shoes on during security screenings. Then, in late July, TSA announced a new Families on the Fly program that gives those with children their own space where they can move through security at their own pace without feeling rushed or as though they're inconveniencing other travelers. Dedicated lines for service members and their families are also in the works. Other future updates to the security screening process, according to Gnome, may include easing the liquids rule. Huh. Interesting. Gnome also said she was working with several different companies with technologies to give us competitive bids on what they actually do. The future of an airport, where I'm looking to go, is you walk in the door with your carry-on suitcase, you walk through a scanner, and right to your flight. It takes you 1 minute. Wow, that's quite a dream. All right, stand by. I gotta refresh my water. Okay, Federalist Papers, number 9. Number 7 was concerning the dangers from dissensions between states. Number 8 was the consequences of hostilities between the states. And number 9, the Union as a safeguard against domestic faction and insurrection. All very similar. Dissensions between states, hostilities between states, and domestic faction and insurrection. Alexander Hamilton, writing as Publius. To the people of the state of New York, a firm union will be of the utmost moment. A firm union will be of the utmost moment to the peace and liberty of the states as a barrier against domestic faction and insurrection. It is impossible to read the history of the petty republics of Greece and Italy without feeling sensations of horror and disgust at the distractions with which they were continually agitated, and at the rapid succession of revolutions by which they were kept in a state of perpetual vibration between the extremes of tyranny and anarchy. Oh, that was a good sentence. Also, I learned some crazy shit about the French Revolution. The French Revolution was like 6 years or something of just pure hell, where they created this power vacuum And then all these warring factions were trying to fill it, and there was paranoia and fear and lynchings and killings, and it was pretty awful. It's a pretty awful time in France. Kept in a state of perpetual vibration between the extremes of tyranny and anarchy. If they exhibit occasional calms, these only serve as short-lived contrasts to the furious storms that are to succeed. If now and then intervals of felicity Hamilton uses felicity to highlight the contrast between temporary calm and in this essay, highlight the contrast between temporary calm and enduring disorder. It underscores his argument for a strong, united federal government. The word felicity refers to moments of happiness, peace, or prosperity within the historical narrative of ancient republics like those of Greece and Italy. Periods, if now and then intervals of temporary peace open to view, we behold them with a mixture of regret arising from the reflection that the pleasing scenes before us are soon to be overwhelmed by the tempestuous waves of sedition and petty rage and party rage. If momentary rays of glory break forth from the gloom, while they dazzle us with a transient and fleeting brilliancy, they at the same time admonish us to lament that the vices of government should pervert the direction and tarnish the luster of those bright talents and exalted endowments for which the favored soils that produce them have been so justly celebrated. From the disorders that disfigure the annals of those republics to the advocates of despotism. From the disorders that disfigure the annals of those republics, the advocates of despotism have drawn arguments, not only against the forms of republican government, but against the very principles of civil liberty. They have decried all free government as inconsistent with the order of society, and have indulged themselves in malicious exultation over its friends and partisans. Happily for mankind, stupendous fabrics reared on the basis of liberty, which have flourished for ages, have in a few glorious instances refuted their gloomy sophisms. Thankfully, liberty has sometimes prevailed. And I trust America will be the broad and solid foundation of other edifices, not less magnificent, which will be equally permanent monuments of their errors. But it is not to be denied that the portraits they have sketched of republican government were too just copies of the originals from which they were taken. If it had been found impracticable to have devised models of a more perfect structure, the enlightened friends to liberty would have been obliged to abandon the cause of that species of government as indefensible. The science of politics, however, like most other sciences, has received great improvement. The efficacy of various principles is now well understood, which were either not known at all or imperfectly known to the ancients. The regular distribution of power into distinct departments, the introduction of legislative balances and checks, the institution of courts composed of judges holding their offices during good behavior, the representation of the people in the legislature by deputies of their own election, these are wholly new discoveries, or have made their principal progress towards perfection in modern times. They are means, and powerful means, by which the excellences of republican government may be retained and its imperfections lessened or avoided. To this catalogue of circumstances that tend to the amelioration of popular systems of civil government, I shall venture, however novel it may appear to some, to add one more on a principle which has been made the foundation of an objection to the new Constitution. I mean the enlargement of the orbit within which such systems are to revolve, either in respect to the dimensions of a single state or to the consolidation of several smaller states into one great confederacy. The latter is that which immediately concerns the object under consideration. It will, however, be of use to examine the principle in its application to a single state. It will, however, be of use to examine the principle in its application to a single state, which shall be attended to in another place. The utility of a confederacy, as well to suppress faction and to guard the internal tranquillity of states as to increase their external force and security, is in reality not a new idea. It has been practiced upon in different countries and ages, and has received the sanction of the most approved writers on the subject of politics. The opponents of the plan proposed have, with great assiduity, There's got to be a j in there somewhere. Assiduity. Hamilton uses the word assiduity to describe the persistent and meticulous efforts of those opposing the proposed U.S. Constitution. Okay. The opponents of the plan proposed of the Constitution have, with great assiduity, cited and circulated the observations of Montesquieu on the necessity of a contracted territory for a republican government. But they seem not to have been apprised of the sentiments of the great man expressed in another part of his work, nor to have adverted to the consequences of the principle to which they subscribe with such ready acquiescence. When Montesquieu, part of the French Revolution. When Montesquieu recommends a small extent... What did Montesquieu do? Montesquieu's beliefs were often concerned with political and legal issues. He was an advocate for limited government, in which rulers were bound to follow laws. Montesquieu's philosophy also argued that the power should be decentralized, and he thus introduced the idea of separation of powers. But the revolution happened after we ratified our Constitution. So I guess before that he was a judge, a historian, a political philosopher. He's the principal source of the theory of separation of powers. When Montesquieu recommends a small extent for republics, the standards he had in view were of dimensions far short of the limits of almost every one of these states. Neither Virginia, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New York, North Carolina, nor Georgia can by any means be compared with the models from which he reasoned and to which the terms of his description apply. If we therefore take his ideas on this point as the criterion of truth, we shall be driven to the alternative either of taking refuge at once in the arms of monarchy, or by splitting ourselves into an infinity of little, jealous, clashing, tumultuous commonwealths, the wretched nurseries of unceasing discord, and the miserable objects of universal pity or contempt. So I think his idea of a small, very small government. Some of the writers who have come forward on the other side of the question seem to have been aware of the dilemma and have even been bold enough to hint at the division of the larger states as a desirable thing. Such an infatuated policy, such a desperate expedient might, by the multiplication of petty offices, answer the views of men who possess not qualifications to extend their influence beyond the narrow circles of personal intrigue, but it could never promote the greatness or happiness of the people of America. Such an infatuated policy might answer the views of men who possess not qualifications to extend their influence beyond the narrow circles of personal intrigue, but it can never promote the greatness or happiness of the people of America. Referring the examination of the principle itself to another place, as has been already mentioned, it will be sufficient to remark here that, in the sense of the author who has been most emphatically quoted upon the occasion, it would only dictate a reduction of the size of the more considerable members of the Union, but would not militate against their being all comprehended in one Confederate government. And this is the true question in the discussion of which we are at present interested. Referring the examination of the principle itself to another place, as has already been mentioned, it will be sufficient to remark here that, in the sense of the author who has been most emphatically quoted on the occasion, it would only dictate a reduction of the size of the more considerable members of the Union. So Montesquieu's idea would only, as filtered through those who he's talking about, would only require the individual states to reduce their size, but it would not require getting rid of the federal government. So far are the suggestions of Montesquieu from standing in opposition to a general union of the states that he explicitly treats of a Confederate Republic as the expedient for extending the sphere of popular government and reconciling the advantages of monarchy with those of republicanism. So Montesquieu explicitly says that a Confederate Republic, a unionized government, is better. It gets the advantages of monarchy and the advantages of republicanism. It is very probable, says he, in Spirit of Lawa, Volume 1, Book 9, Chapter 1. It is very probable, says he, that mankind would have been obliged at length to live constantly under the government of a single person had they not contrived a kind of constitution that has all the internal advantages of a republican, together with the external force of a monarchical government. I mean a Confederate Republic. How do you spell that shit? Montesquieu. This form of government is a convention by which several smaller states agree to become members of a larger one, which they intend to form. It is a kind of assemblage of societies that constitute a new one, capable of increasing by means of new associations till they arrive to such a degree of power as to be able to provide for the security of the united body. A republic of this kind, able to withstand an external force, may support itself without any internal corruptions. The form of this society prevents all manner of inconveniences. If a single member should attempt to usurp the supreme authority, he could not be supposed to have an equal authority and credit in all the Confederate States. Were he to have too great influence over one, this would alarm the rest. Were he to subdue a part, that which would still remain free might oppose him with forces independent of those which he had usurped and overpower him before he could be settled in his usurpation. Should a popular insurrection happen in one of the Confederate States, the others are able to quell it. Should abuses creep into one part, they are reformed by those that remain sound. The state may be destroyed on one side and not on the other. The Confederacy may be dissolved, and yet the Confederates preserve their sovereignty. As this government is composed of small republics, it enjoys the internal happiness of each, and with respect to its external situation, it is possessed by means of the association and of all the advantages of large monarchies. I have thought it proper to quote at length these interesting passages, because they contain a luminous abridgment of the principal arguments in favor of the Union, and must effectually remove the false impressions which a misapplication of other parts of the work was calculated to make. They have, at the same time, an intimate connection with the more immediate design of this paper, which is to illustrate the tendency of the Union to repress domestic faction and insurrection. A distinction, more subtle than accurate, has been raised between a confederacy and a consolidation of the states. The essential characteristics of the first confederacy is said to be the restriction of its authority to the members in their collective capacities, without reaching to the individuals of whom they are composed. It is contended that the National Council ought to have no concern with any object of internal administration. An exact equality of suffrage between the members has also been insisted upon as a leading feature of a Confederate government. These positions are, in the main, arbitrary. They are supported neither by principle nor by precedent. It has indeed happened that governments of this kind have generally operated in the manner which the distinction taken notice of supposes to be inherent in their nature, but there have been in most of them extensive exceptions to the practice, which serve to prove, as far as example will go, that there is no absolute rule on the subject. And it will be clearly shown in the course of this investigation that as far as the principle contended for has prevailed, it has been the cause of incurable disorder and imbecility in government. Yeah, I missed something. Governments of this kind generally operated in the manner which the distinction taken notice of is supposed to be inherent in their nature. The definition of a Confederate Republic seems simply to be an assemblage of societies, or an association of two or more states into one state. The extent, modifications, and objects of the federal authority are mere matters of discretion. So long as the separate organization of the members be not abolished, so long as it exists by a constitutional necessity for local purposes, though it should be in perfect subordination to the general authority of the Union, it would still be, in fact and in theory, an association of states, or a confederacy. The proposed Constitution, so far from implying an abolition of the state governments, makes them constituent parts of the national sovereignty by allowing them a direct representation in the Senate, and leaves in their possession certain exclusive and very important portions of sovereign power. This fully corresponds in every rational import of the terms with the idea of a federal government. So he's making a distinction there between the states themselves as bodies of political power and the people in those states, which is the idea behind the lower and the upper houses. The Congress represents the people and the Senate represents the states. Which is interesting because the states are also supposed to represent the people. But maybe this was a call out to the fact that that the founding fathers were basically all landowners. They had property, they had money, they had wealth, they had education. And so the people in the politics in the states were probably acquaintances, friends. They probably ran in the same circles. So maybe this was one way to try and woo them. To woo the states themselves, actually, not just the people. So Hamilton, he had to woo the people and he had to woo the states. Interesting. In the Lycian Confederacy, which consisted of 23 cities or republics, the largest were entitled to 3 votes in the Common Council, those of the middle class to 2 and the smallest to 1. The Common Council had the appointment of all the judges and magistrates of the respective cities. This was certainly the most delicate species of interference in their internal administration. For if there be anything that seems exclusively appropriated to the local jurisdictions, it is the appointment of their own officers. Yet Montesquieu, speaking of this association, says, "Were I to give a model of an excellent Confederate republic, it would be that of Lycia." Thus, we perceive that the distinctions insisted upon were not within the contemplation of this enlightened civilian, and we shall be led to conclude that they are the novel refinements of an erroneous theory. The distinctions insisted upon. Oh, there's distinctions between a confederacy and a consolidation of the states. Right, a confederacy would be each unique state underneath the whole. A consolidation would be dissolving the states and bringing all the land area under one. But that the distinction between those two things is more subtle rather than accurate. That one felt much easier to get through. I wonder if it's just me getting used to reading out loud again. I haven't done that since grade school. Lycia was a historical region in Anatolia from 15th to 14th centuries BC to 546 BC. It bordered the Mediterranean Sea in what is now, in what is today the provinces of Antalya and Mughla in Turkey, as well as some inland parts of Burdur province. The region was known to history from the late Bronze Age records of ancient Egypt and the Hittite Empire. Wow, that's old. Cool. I think I'm gonna play some Left 4 Dead. 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. You don't hear it? Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2. Still don't hear it? This is it here. And it was reading like way up here. I don't know. I guess I'll have to fix that. Oh, hold on. Maybe now. Cool.
Reloading.
I'm reloading.
I'm gonna reload.
That is not
Chainsaw here. Hey, I'm reloading.
reloading.
Heads up. Oh, what in the hell did that thing just do? Wait, healing. Oh yeah. Freaking tongue! Fine. Look out!
Burning shit.
Technically, you're not supposed to use an elevator in a fire, but that might not apply during a zombie apocalypse.
Nightmare, goddamn zombie apocalypse and shit. Shit. What the hell are we gonna do?
Settle down, son. We're gonna be okay.
My name's Alice.
There we go. Most people call me Coach. And we're gonna be okay. Just gotta keep our heads.
Hey, name's Rochelle. You?
Nick, that's all you need to know.
You ready?
Reloading!
Reloading.
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 Adrenaline shot here. Reloading. I'm a reload. We can get through here.
Reloading.
Reload. Smoking one.
Smoking gun.
I haven't played this in a long time.
Oh, I'm glad I can't tweet, because I could never fit today at 140 calories.
But the police were too busy tear gassing him to ask what he was doing up there. He
Reloading.
screamed for an entire year every single time he opens his eyes. Oh man! At first it was
Alice,
funny.
Alice,
then he
Alice.
just got okay.
Back, guys. Ninja sword here.
Hey, I'm reloading.
Fucking shooting me.
Reloading. Grenade launcher here. Time to make some zombie soup. Thanks. If I go, you guys are gonna miss me. That worked.
Hey, do you hear that crying?
Reloading.
Through the door. Down here.
Oh, fuck.
Charging thing!
Who's that for?
Maybe if we don't move. You won't see us.
That's what they call a boomer.
No! Holy shit! Great. Thanks.
We're cool.
Ain't this a bitch?
Quit fussing and let me heal you.
Okay. Everybody grab a weapon.
Damn, that is a nasty ass zombie.
Mall must be close.
I think they're called jockeys. Do we need to hit him in the head?
Reloading.
Reloading!
Reloading here! Reloading!
Reloading.
This whole city looks abandoned.
Gotta reload!
Reloading.
Reloading. Going with the shotgun.
I'll try this shotgun.
Weapons over here.
Oh shit, what the hell is going on?
The smoking thing.
Call them hunters.
Yeah, Hunter pitching.
We got a hunter. Over this dumpster.
Watch it! Reloading!
Reloading here. I hear a spitter.
Hell, man, spitter dude!
That long neck bitch hit me.
Going with the rifle.
Assault rifle. Taking the rifle. Jump onto the truck.
What the hell is that?
Jesus, that thing was huge.
That was some epic shit right there.
Not like none of that.
Oh yeah.
I'm a reload.
Reloading.
Oh, Nick. Damn.
Reloading.
Reloading.
We're getting close to that gun store.
Everybody grab a weapon.
This way.
Reloading.
Roasting zombies?
Reloading.
Reloading. Those guys fire free.
Gun store just up ahead. Let's stock up and keep moving.
Grab some guns. We got shit to shoot. I'm not legally allowed to own it. Hope everybody's okay with that.
Besides here.
I got the first aid.
Grabbing the assault rifle.
Laser sights here.
Well now, this might just work out after all. Help yourselves to my weapons. Take anything you need. I'm in a bit of a quandary, you see, and... Climb that, you green-skinned son of a bitch! And I suspect you're just the people that help me out. Run upstairs when you're done.
Okay, mysterious voice.
Pistol.
I'll be blunt. I need the coat. And I won't let you through the barricade until I get it. Now go.
I can understand that. Man needs his snacks.
I'd be able to get you to the mall if I wasn't so parched from thirst.
Get ready, this is gonna set off the alarm. Grab the cola. I got his cola, let's go.
Oh, shit.
Got the cola. We got two. Got the cola. Got the cola. Got the cola.
Well, I'll be damned. Fireproof zombies.
There's my coat! Quick! Put it on!
So that's a charger, huh? You know what they say about zombies with one big arm?
Okay, I still don't like guns, but that was a little off. I'm reloading.
Pills here. Okay, that's gonna last a bit.
What's doing that crying?
This one's got some
Laser sights here.
Look at you, Ro. You're turning into a real firearms connoisseur.
What you guys doing in those suits?
Reloading.
reloading.
Don't shoot that car.
Reloading.
You gotta save, pals.
Damn thing! Hey, thanks a lot. God damn, I hurt.
Quit screwing around. Get inside. Okay, we made it. Let's hope there's still somebody here.
Damn, I'm doing
Time for
worse than
people to heal.
Coach, Rochelle. Oh, okay.
Cedar better be around here somewhere.
All good now.
Reloading.
Reloading. Nice. Down this escalator. Reloading.
Here you go.
Reloading.
I got this for you.
Thanks.
I hear one of them spitters.
Reloading.
I'm a reload.
Guns here.
Reloading.
All right.
Reload.
Reloading. Reloading.
Which?
Guns here. Over this door.
You can have this.
Thanks. A little pick me up. Everybody grab a weapon.
Nice. I think I always played as... Actually, I don't know. I don't remember. I think I always did random.
Hunter!
Down here.
Look here.
Reloading! Reloading!
Reloading.
Reloading.
I got a sinking feeling this alarm's gonna get us some... Turn off that alarm! Up! Keep moving!
Oh, shit.
Shoot the tank!
It's just the instant respawn. Alright. I'm going to sleep.
Keep an eye out for the evac center.
It's been fun. Have a good night. I don't think I'll be back tomorrow. I think I'm doing trivia tomorrow night. So, see you on Thursday. Have a good night.